Welcome, everybody, to today's podcast, Production Pioneers, episode where we are digging into precision manufacturing with Paul Grekowitz, the newly appointed CEO of Gilman Precision. Paul brings extensive B2B manufacturing experience from his previous role as managing director at CalGen, where he led a strategic growth initiative across America. Gilman, founded in 1952, has been engineering micron-level tolerance components that power everything from aerospace to medical devices for over 70 years. Today, we'll explore how this Wisconsin-based manufacturer is navigating new ownership, workforce challenges, and the AI revolution while maintaining their reputation as the gold standard in precision motion solutions. Welcome aboard, Paul. Glad to have you.
Yeah, thank you, Kevin. Happy to be here.
I've been looking forward to this. I did some research on you guys, and it's always fun to look at companies that are in the state of Wisconsin and see what they're doing. So I'm going to ask you some pretty interesting questions today, I hope. So,
hey, fire away. Looking forward to
it. So you just recently took the helm at Gilman, and was it last December? What drew you to lead the company, especially a 72-year-old company?
Yeah, well, I actually just celebrated my 1 year anniversary here.
Oh,
time flies, and man, has it been an awesome journey. I was super fortunate to inherit a great team. As you mentioned, a company now with 73 years of an incredible history, primarily serving the machine tool market, but from even early starts and putting portable machine shops on Navy ships. So just some of the legacy and the history and the culture here has been great. And just over the course of a year, so many changes while preserving that culture, but positioning us for future growth.
Great transitions. I was going to say, walk us through the key milestones that transformed the company from its founding to becoming a precision manufacturer and a leader in it too.
Yeah, I mean, so if you look back at the company history, it was really founded as a business making spindles and slides for machine tools used in, any number of machining applications. So the business is still doing what it did at its founding. And you can't say that about too many companies. Obviously, there's been some technological improvements over the years. I mean, bearing designs, machining tolerances that we can achieve, everything has kind of grown over time. But key transitions for the company, and we may touch on this a little bit later in terms of challenges, but also opportunities, was Russell T. Gilman, the founder, or his successors owned the business until about roughly 1989. It was then bought by SKF, who we used to use them as a primary manufacturer. They make bearings. So at a point in time, they were looking out and expanding their business. Anybody that used their products or may use their products, they acquired. They thought that would be an inorganic growth strategy. Well, they, after about 15 years of that, decided many of these small businesses they had acquired just didn't fit their core. So they then went through a period where they shed all those acquisitions. A prior ownership group, just before Madison Lake Capital, our current owners, bought it, some including employees of SKF at the time, bought the business back, nurtured it, kept it alive. Very grateful that it didn't get sent overseas or maybe sold to maybe call it a foreign adversary ownership group.
Sure.
And so we kept it made in the USA, made in Wisconsin. Yeah, it was just shortly before I came on board that Madison Lake acquired it. And we've been reinvesting in the business and doing a lot of things. So a ton of activities over time, but a little bit of the history of the company, because I think it's important. But, a few things haven't changed since that founding time. It's a commitment to quality. If a product even has a microscopic machine scratch on it, we're going to polish that out before it goes out the door. And everything gets tested. So we never want to ship a bad product. And that was one of the founding principles of Russell T. Gilman in 1952.
Well, you guys are manufacturing components with tolerances measured in microns, but that's less than 1/70th of a thickness of a human hair. What industries depend on something most critically at that level, precision?
Yeah, so some of our, two core products. First, I'll talk about slides used in positioning, sometimes for heavy machine tools, other applications. When you're moving precisely loads, sometimes 3, 4, 5,000 pounds, and it can't slip. You can't go off even a tenth of a degree, because it might be driving another application. And in a lot of cases, it may be a spindle mounted on the end of the slide, drilling a super precision hole. So when we're talking about those tolerances, it could be a tenth of a thousandth of an inch over 20 feet of travel. And
Oh,
that's the kind of stuff when you put that on a drawing, a lot of engineers that are specifying parts to go out and be purchased to get themselves in trouble. But that's where we thrive. We love that tight tolerance work because for our end users to drive precision, we have to be super precise ourselves.
so you guys have about a 90,000 foot facility, but you also have a Class A 10,000 foot clean room. How's this infrastructure differentiate for Gilman from your competitors?
Well, there's one primary competitor, and I won't call them out by name. You know,
No need to
maybe
give props, right?
yeah. I mean, but they actually have a similar setup. Actually, our largest competitor is bigger, and we over the years have kind of let them get bigger. I'm looking forward to changing that equation a little bit. But I mean, that what differentiates us there is that clean room capability. We're in there assembling spindles used in blood centrifuges, used in other applications. So most of our spindle assembly is taking place in that clean room capable environment. And I mean, these are spindles that might be used to machine the nose cone for one of the large rocket companies. So our products go into some incredibly cool end user applications that we only hear about half the time.
That sounds amazing. So with new ownership, they must have given you some direction and you know and said, "Hey, make this shift. These investments. These are the things we want prioritized," and or even asked you on the reverse, "What do you think we need to do?" Can I ask what that is?
Well, I won't violate any confidences, but it was first to focus on righting our ship commercially. How was our sales and marketing being approached? You wouldn't believe the number of legacy Gilman customers. And then I went back and looked at 20 years of past sales history, going, well, where did this go? Where did this go? Where did this go? Where they may have been multi-million-dollar customers in the past, and now they're zeros. So going back and actually visiting or having those conversations in an unfortunate number of cases, it was, wow, Gilman, you guys have a great product. We could always count on your product. We still got someone in our shop. We just thought you went out of business. Kind of. Well, and again, it's kind of some marketing fundamentals. They got lost along the way, and even the ownership transition.
Yeah.
SKF Precision USA for a while, so the Gilman name was taken away for a period of time, and it just takes some awareness building and bringing it back.
Um,
And I think we've done quite a bit on that front this year.
while you're on that topic, I was going to address it later, but we're here. How do you go to market? Do you have a sales team? Do you have a marketing team, or do you outsource all that stuff?
Yeah, well, we currently go to market through a network of manufacturers reps, people that are focused and embedded in that machine tool industry, calling on those critical end markets. We built that out over the past year, and we've actually got some additional expansion plans which we'll be rolling out before the end of the year, just to really get that key coverage in all these manufacturing hotspots. Wisconsin obviously is very critical to our national manufacturing industry. One of the call it the machine shop of the world areas. I grew up in the Detroit area myself, so it used to be you couldn't turn around without running into a tool and die shop. But the number of machine shops and really capable, good people that we've got here across Wisconsin is mind blowing. But us being a part of that and then kind of expanding that nationally is really key.
One of the things in doing these podcasts, I've noticed that the reshoring is a big deal. And, you have that corridor. They're not going to LA. They're not going to California anymore. They're going to Texas in that corridor between Detroit and Milwaukee down to Dallas. And that is huge. It's just growing, that 35 corridor, with people putting manufacturing in. It's pretty wild.
I love to see it.
Yeah.
We got some patriotic blood running through my veins. I think we need to just have an absolute resurgence in American manufacturing.
Yeah, and it's nice to see. I think Wisconsin grew from a manufacturing standpoint about 10.5% last year.
Yeah.
And I think the forecast is even higher for this year. With aerospace, medical, mining, and pharma clients, how do you balance such diverse industry demands while maintaining quality? Because that is really a wide variety.
Well, and that's it. I mean, we kind of circle back and we start with quality in mind. This may be a micro spindle that's machining medical instruments that are, needles, or, you're talking about some big heavy duty equipment, but we always start with that quality mindset in place first. Good fundamental engineering design, safety factors where appropriate and where needed, and then just kind of taking it from there. So we always start with quality as the end result, and that's where we begin.
Your repair services, you work on many manufacturers, spindles and slides. How significant is this market business to your overall strategy with doing repairs? And
Yeah, well, it's an important component of our business. I wouldn't say it's core to our operations. It's nice where we can. Well, first of all, I'm a huge proponent of taking care of our customers. So if somebody bought a product from Gilman and that spindle's run for 10 or 15 years and they want to refurbish it, we are more than happy to do that. What's really interesting is if you were to walk through our repair area on any given day, Gilman spindles typically only make up about 20% of the products we get in. So we're servicing a lot of other brands as well. I'd like to brag a little bit that, kind of circling back to quality, we have a quality problem. Our products last too long. So, but, and I say that tongue in cheek because our quality reputation is really what that goes back to our roots. And we're going to continue to focus on that.
well, as bad as it is for repeat business, it's great for new business if you can lay on that, right?
Right, right.
Ask a few questions about workforce. We talked about the growth happening in the space, but we also have 10,000 workers retiring every day. We have a serious brain drain, and manufacturing is facing a potential of 2.1 million job shortages by 2030. How acute is this challenge for a precision manufacturer like yourself?
It's significant. Talk about the short list of things that keep me up at night. That's firmly planted on there. Maybe not at the top, but it's definitely made the list. But there's a few ways to address it.
That was going to be my last question. What keeps you today? What keeps you up at night?
We could come back to that one. I'll add a few more for fun. But back to workforce. I mean, we do have a very experienced workforce here, but we're also backstopped with some newer people that are learning from that prior generation. So a business like ours, some of the machines that we build this precision equipment on doesn't have a simple CNC programming panel. We've got to teach people how to use 30, 40-year-old equipment, which we take great care of here, and it turns out great products. But that's not the type of things that are being built in schools anymore. I'm sorry, my screen just blanked for a second. Okay. So what's being taught in various schools is high-end CNC, robotic program, everything else, and that's great because that's the future. But there are so many shops like ours, not only across the state, but across the country or the world, where you need to have some basic fundamental knowledge where you don't load in a program and just watch it cut chips. So being able to train those capabilities, but at the same time, we are investing in new equipment. In fact, have a new robotically loaded high-speed multi-spindle turning center, which will be arriving here at the end of the year, which we're super excited about.
Right.
And then it's going to be one of the first of many investments in, again, precision manufacturing, but with a layer of automation as well as just modernization of controls. So it's going to be a different workforce as it shifts, and we're not looking to reduce the number of workers, but we're going to have to upskill and train people accordingly because our seasoned guys, our experienced machinists, want to make sure they're capable of operating that equipment as well.
Well, I'm sure that's got to create a bit of a dynamic with the older team and the younger team. And so, how do you build for growth? How do you create that team without I wouldn't want to call it a split or a divide. How do you get the older guys engaged with the younger guys and the younger guys engaged with the older guys?
Yeah. Well, We're pretty fortunate here. Again, I mentioned a great culture, and that predates me by a very long way. But you've got people that ultimately take a look and say, hey, we can work together on this. We're solving an issue. We're putting together a product that's going to go out and take care of a customer. So there's a good sense of teamwork. And I've been in other shops where that doesn't exist. So I think I understand your question. At least from our culture, people do work together. There's a belief and a pride in the Gilman name that the more senior generation wants to see this business continue for another 50 years or more. So they want to make sure that there's that training and that knowledge handoff.
Well, that's the answer I got from a lot of people that I've interviewed is that the ones that are having success are the ones that have had a great culture inside and they're transitioning that to the younger team. So moving on to some other questions, technology and automation, AI being the buzzword all over the place and Industry 4.0 are transforming manufacturing. Where's Gilman on this automation journey? What do you think of the AI and everything happening?
Very early steps. We're currently in the let's dip our toes in and see mode. We're using AI for some administrative functions, some of our upfront communications and quoting, but we haven't jumped in yet for what I consider the true impact of AI in manufacturing. I was actually at a great event yesterday put on by the Metro Milwaukee Association of Commerce that was all about AI for small business and manufacturing and idea sharing forum and how people are using it. And ultimately, a lot of companies like ours are in those early stages, but where we probably will be headed is investments in how do we automate some of our production planning. Today building a bill of materials is a very heavy, lengthy, strenuous process, and it's repetitive in many cases. Could that be automated? And that frees up my production planner to go off and do other value added activities. And I think the thing I'll stress is that we're not going to be looking at AI as a job eliminator. It's going to be more of a let's get all the stuff that you hate doing off your plate.
Right.
Go back and check to make sure it did it right. Then you're going to have all this time to do a lot more interesting, exciting things that drive the growth of the business.
So some manufacturers report 40% yield improvements in AI-driven quality control. What's your view on AI versus the hype benefits of something like that? Are you going to be
I'm not sure I could speak to that. We're not in that super high. We're a high mix, low volume type environment, and the majority of our products are actually 100% tested. Whether it's running a spindle up to speed at various speeds to make sure that there's zero noise or vibration, or slides being put through their paces and under heavy loads. We do almost 100% testing of products where I could see some of the AI sampling versus human production, kind of in a volume production quality control environment. I see the benefits of AI doing so, and I'm not surprised hearing that 40% improvement. That's just not been our experience here because we're not producing huge volumes of the same widget every day.
Let's talk about this. And I know you've got a lot of older gear on the floor, but we're looking at a lot of collaborative robots that are changing shop floors. Uh, what do you think about that? And because you're going to have to be dealing with the balance of automation with skilled craft people and their expertise coming up, and it's something we're all going to have to adjust to. I don't know if this is a question as much as I just kind of want your opinion.
Yeah, well, same type of thing. I think there is going to be a ton of benefit, probably across the industry, and certainly at Gilman as we take on some of the really cool growth ideas we've got coming in the next year, where those volumes will increase. But think about a cobot or just a robotic loader unloader for a simple operation. Say we're doing a precision grind on 100 shafts, and then there needs to be some type of finishing operation or maybe a deburr. Those 100 shafts could be run under the watchful eye of an operator to make sure that things are going properly, loaded into a rack for then a robot to work overnight so that we may not be running a second or a third shift, but those pieces don't need to then spend an extra day in that next cleanup operation. So at least the simplistic machining steps where it can be loaded repetitively, activities performed and then unloaded, I see huge potential for let's just say, using unused machine capacity and not having operators having to do that work. So as we get into those volumes, it's going to be important to do.
Yeah. Have you done anything with predictive maintenance? A lot of these machines today, especially the older machines, which you couldn't do before, you could use sensors and monitors and use AI to cut down downtime. And I know that some of the times I ran into an account that every time a machine went down, a blade was broken, a $10,000 blade, if it had, their complaint to us is they just want to know when it's going to go. And because if they catch it before it goes, then they pay 10 grand instead of, if it goes, it's 100 grand because of the damage that it does.
Yeah, and that sounds like a customer up in your neck of the woods that we may have done some business with. I think I heard the same analogy, and great group up there that they work. But here we haven't done as much on the predictive maintenance space, but really kind of embrace more of a philosophy of total productive maintenance. So when you're dealing with these older machines,
Preventative maintenance is key.
Sensors, we some of them just don't have the level of sophistication and controls without extensive retrofit. Mm-hmm. So it's really been more of how do we give the machines TLC every day, and keep them clean, stay on typical maintenance cycles as really part of the daily operations work. And so we don't get into too many call them what would be caught by predictive failures. Control cards are going to blow out, or power supplies and things like that. Call it the mechanics of the machines. We try to take care of ahead of time. But I've worked in past shops where a predictive maintenance and sensors, 100%, especially when the cost of one scrap part can be so significant.
Awesome. All right. So future vision, where do you see Gilman Precision 5 years from now under your leadership?
Yeah. Well, one, we're going to be bigger. We're done playing defense and letting some of the bigger competitors push us around. If they do see this, sorry guys, I guess it's a wake up call. But again, I could use hockey analogies. I could use anything else. But we're not just going to lay in the corner anymore and wait and see what comes to us. So being more aggressive. We'll do that with our marketing efforts. We are bringing out some new products in the coming year that meet some really critical market needs where we just historically didn't serve it. So again, targeted growth, very focused, just going out and hitting areas of the market that make a lot of sense. There are growth verticals that
I was going to say, my next question is, what emerging industries or applications excite you for precision motion solutions?
Yeah, well, I mean, we already talked a little bit about robotics. There are plenty of products that go on the end of a robotic arm that might be used for machining or finishing applications that are perfect fits for a Gilman spindle. We're looking at new linear motion applications. I mean, there's tens of thousands of miles of linear rail and automation systems everywhere, where a slide, the way it's designed and built today, quite frankly, is overkill. I wouldn't put one in there either. But looking at some other, using the same type of technology products to grow and at least compete in that space. Do I expect to take it over? Of course not. I mean, linear rail is pretty cheap when it comes down to it, but having some solutions for those, call them medium duty applications where customers are trying to decide which way should I go. But ultimately, we're seeing growth in two areas. One's going to be in the defense industrial base. When you look at cybersecurity requirements, there are shops everywhere across the state that probably do business with the Oshkoshes or the DRSs or the Regal or Fairbanks Morses of the world. And for the volume of business that they do, it may not be worth them investing in that certification because it's not cheap, it's not easy, and it does take time. So we're kind of positioning ourselves to be ready to take on that volume of business. We've got a host of capabilities here. I can machine any range of products, and some of them may not need the tolerances we normally operate at. I'm just fine with that. We'll grow in those spaces.
I can see your enthusiasm. I can see there's opportunity there that you just can't wait to get.
Yeah.
A couple of questions. Have you had any supply chain disruptions due to any things like tariffs or anything like that?
Well, I guess I can take a brag moment here to say I was really happy to send a message out to our customer base saying we do not anticipate any tariff related price increases. Don't expect any from us because our product's made in the USA. If you come out to our shop floor, we're starting with bar stock or castings or forgings. We're not getting those sub assemblies there, and then we're machining them down to exactly where they need to be. I mean, the only products we typically import are bearings, and we do our best to identify bearings that have actually been built and manufactured in the U.S. So I can't say we're 100% made in the USA. We're pretty darn close. So tariff impacts haven't been significant. One area we are contending with, and it gave me some heartburn because it kicked in shortly after I signed the purchase order for a new machine, but it's actually coming from overseas. And then a few weeks later, we got the surprise of, oh, by the way, you're going to get hit with this extra surcharge. And, you know, so while I see the pros and cons of tariffs, certainly in providing a level playing field for U.S. manufacturers and especially Wisconsin manufacturers, that's one that actually bit us a little bit. But it's not holding us up. It's just an unexpected financial hit.
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that Wisconsin's growing at about 10.5%. What headwinds do you think could slow this down and prevent you from gaining the momentum? You see anything in front of you that worries you?
So and I hate using this word, but everybody's using it, so I'll put it out there. We're still in a period of uncertainty. And it's the financial uncertainty of, wow, well, the Fed just dropped another quarter point. Maybe they'll drop another one in November. Maybe they'll drop another one in December. So a lot of people are holding onto their checkbooks. We have quoted a tremendous number of projects over the last 6 months, and people all saying, "Yep, you're the winning bid," but not as much of it as would normally be expected is coming to fruition. People are holding onto their checkbooks right now. So if we get some consistent policies, if everybody knows what the rules are, they'll start playing the game. But for now, tons of people on the sidelines saying, "Hey, I'm not sure if I'm going to make that investment or not."
The goalposts keep moving, don't they?
They do. Very early on, I was actually part of a group that talked about the pros of tariffs, especially the machine tool market and other spaces. Just it's flooded with cheap imports, poor quality, state subsidies, everything else that comes into play with some countries more guilty than others. But again, with a level playing field, we're going to win every time.
Yeah.
So
Especially with the quality that you guys have, right? I mean, quality does make a difference, and if you can get that across from a marketing perspective, in a sales call, and you can monetize it or quantify and qualify it, it makes a big difference.
huge, yeah,
Yeah, like cost of the life cycle, right?
yeah.
All right, so you're coming from a background where you were in CalGen's automation world. Now you're in precision manufacturing. How's that from a transitioning into it, and then how does your leadership translate into what you're doing now?
Yeah, well, I think good business practices apply no matter what industry you're in. And the first part is making sure you got a solid team that can do the work. I never want to know, I'm not going to ever know how to run a tenth of the machines we have on the floor. And to think that I can come in and have that expectation, and first of all, it'd be crazy on my part because there's people that do it so much better. But second, it's more how do we just set up for success? And there's good fundamental business principles that apply regardless of industry. Prior to Calian, I was actually at another business that did run a precision machine shop that was part of my portfolio of products, and we made ball screws. Ironically enough, some of those ball screws now are used in products here at Gilman. So it's a small world.
It is. And which you brought it up. So you mentioned that you held roles, but you've held roles with marketing, product management, operations. How does that shape your CEO approach?
Well, I'll joke. There's probably a little bit of career ADD in the mix. So, but fundamentally, it gives me the opportunity to have meaningful conversations with each of those functions. So if you've been there, done that, you get a little bit of credibility. And you just know how to ask better questions. I don't want to ever have to go tell people, this is what I want you to do. It's how do you think you should do it? But then at least being able to give some guidance with the first level answer. I never want to be the best at anything in a business. I should have a team of people that can do awesome things for me doing that.
Yeah, my dad, he was a VP of a Fortune 500 company. He said, I always love when my salesman makes more money than me. I said,
Yep.
why? He said, because then he's doing it right. And that means the company's making money.
Right.
All right, I got to wrap it up. A couple quick questions. One metric that keeps you up at night. We already touched on one.
Yeah. So a metric that keeps me up at night. Our metrics, believe it or not, tend to be pretty healthy. But I guess I'll share it's on-time delivery. And we're only in the very high 90s. So the fact that it's not 100%, you know,
Yeah.
you always want to strive for that perfection, but sometimes something's caught late in the process, or a supplier delivers a component 3 or 4 days late, and those things happen. It's manufacturing, but constantly, I always want to be on time because our customers deserve it.
So I'm going to piggyback on that. One outside metric that keeps you up at night, or outside issue.
Outside issue, I would say right now it's a lot of the economic uncertainty. If we could get to kind of a stable policy environment, I think there's so much capital waiting to be unleashed that the American economy, and especially the Wisconsin economy, should just boom in 2026.
I think based on everything I've spoken, all the leaders I've spoken to, I think they would all concur. So, all right, last question. Best advice for young engineers considering manufacturing careers?
Get interested, get excited, but more importantly, once you take that role, get out on the floor, work side by side with the people that are building that product that you just put into a 3D model, because they're going to tell you things that you never thought of relative to how that product should be designed. They'll get better, your business will be more efficient, and ultimately that's a relationship that they should cherish, because the person that's building the product and the engineer should be aligned at the hip.
Awesome. Paul, it's been fascinating learning about Gilman Precision and how it continues pushing the boundaries of what's possible in precision manufacturing after 7 decades. Your vision for combining traditional craftsmanship with cutting-edge automation while tackling the workforce challenge head-on is exactly what the American manufacturer needs. Folks, if you're interested in learning more about Gilman's precision solutions or career opportunities, visit gilmanprecision.com. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, actually, new website recently launched. Check us out.
Awesome. Yeah, I saw it. It looks good. Thanks for joining us today, Paul. Best of luck as you lead Gilman into the next chapter of innovation and growth. For our listeners, if you found this valuable, subscribe, leave a review, and share it with your fellow manufacturers looking to stay ahead of the curve. Until next time, I'm Kevin Durkin, your CEO of Quant-Tek AI. Keep innovating, keep building, keep making a difference. Bye now. See you.